Hey team, Baden Chaff here again, and we are doing another tour swing analysis with the one and only Brad Hughes. How are you, Brad?
Doing good, Brayden. How are you, mate?
I'm great. I'm great. I'm not as, well, maybe I am, but I doubt it. I'm not quite as busy as you. You have got plenty going on at the moment. It's been an unbelievable season. Last time we were speaking to you, you were just doing amazing things with Brendon Todd, who's obviously now into the Tour Championship. It's just been an amazing year. You've worked with Harold Varner, who's obviously had an incredible year to this point, maybe his best season he's ever had, I would say. And maybe we can sort of tell people you've actually started working with Brandt Snedeker as well, which is incredible.
Yeah, that's just in the baby steps at the moment, but that'll be a fun project. Sneds has obviously been a great player for a long time, so we're hoping we can maybe pull a major out soon.
That'd be nice. Great way to, sort of in the twilight of his career, potentially, to grab a major would be incredible. But what we're going to do today is talk about Harold Varner, who is just an amazing player. We were just sort of saying off air that, he's a little pocket rocket, really. He's for his size. He absolutely crushes it. And he's always had sort of some pretty unique moves in his action. You started working with him how long ago?
We started working in February during the Riviera, the LA Open or Genesis Open.
Yep.
We did a little bit of online and talking and texting and video back and forth. And he had a great week. It's actually, if you got that on the screen now, it's actually the green video on the left is the first swing he sent me, and the one on the right there with the beanie is the cold weather in South Carolina a week later.
Wow. He had an incredible week that week, didn't he? The one on the left, that's at Riviera. Where did he actually finish that week?
I think he ended up coming 11th. He led going in the back nine, and he has a love-hate relationship with his three-wood, which I come to find out later on. And he actually topped a three-wood off the 10th tee and made a double and sort of couldn't get anything going from there.
That was pretty amazing, wasn't it? That was crazy to, to watch someone do that. But, I mean, that hole can probably, if there's any hole on tour that can do it to you, it could potentially be that one. So, but let's have a chat about it. Like, I think that this swing here on the right, if we just look at him from the front angle, quality is not amazing, but that's completely fine. If anyone has ever watched Harold play, they've seen this move, right? They've seen this, I don't know, you can only describe it as a lunge towards, the ball on the way down, where, to be perfectly honest, it looks relatively conventional on the way back, doesn't it? So, from the front angle, his shapes look really, really good here. But he has this very, very unique move on the way through where he effectively gets his top half in front of his lower half here on the way through. And you were saying he's not even really aware that he does it. But I'd love you to sort of talk to why it happens so much and why he has done so much of it over his career.
I think, Harold's a pretty short guy. I'm not that tall, and he's shorter than I am. I think he's about 5'8". But he absolutely bombs it with every club. He can smash 6 irons 210 yards if he needs to, and he's very long with his driver for his size. And he didn't know that he did this, or he didn't know why he does it. It's just something he's always done. And my explanation of it would be that if he goes somewhere on the way down there, he stays behind the ball a lot. And I think that's something he learnt when he was young, to try and get distance, that he felt like if he was behind the ball, he could hit it harder and then work his way through. So he keeps that right foot pressurized and down for a long time. And ultimately, like he said, as he shifts his weight from behind the ball near impact, and then his upper body goes through, his right foot's still staying back. Yeah. And then it just gets dragged to the finish because it can't stay back there any longer. So it's a unique move. I think it was probably because he was smaller and he wanted to try and hit it farther when he was young. And it's just something that he grew into his swing. He didn't know why, but I think that's my explanation of why. So sometimes you don't want to tell them why, just let them keep doing it.
Absolutely, yeah. So I think that you're 100% right, though, sort of from what I can see as well, is that, like, it's pretty rare that when you look at someone hitting their irons, he can sort of look like his top's a little bit behind it. We always say that you want to, have it back in your stance and maybe pressure slightly further forward. So that would actually make perfect sense, wouldn't it? If that, in his attempt to try and hit it further, his top's quite a long way behind the ball, I suppose. And the ball position is slightly further forward than the average iron player. So that would explain.
He does. He has the ball well forward.
Right. Yeah. Well, there you go. That'll probably explain how or why he does and this is what the difference between great players and just average players, isn't it? Is that they can match these little things up without even being conscious of it actually happening, sort of thing. So that's cool. So when we have a look at this angle on the left-hand side, so let's pause that. We'll have a look at the left-hand move. So this was the first time you ever saw it. So what did you see the first time you saw it from this angle where you got in the green shirt?
What I sort of, we first started there online and just text messages, that I thought he got a little bit straight in his legs.
Right.
And as he would go to the top of his swing, you can't really tell it there, but obviously there was a lot more different swings he sent that week. But on this one, to me, he looked a little bit straight in his legs. And as he got to the top of his swing, his legs would sort of bend and then they would try straighten again at impact. It's not as bad on this one.
Right.
But you can see how much, because of that, what I saw was that club was getting very low. I don't mind the path itself, but the club head, when you get down to about waist high there, the club head in the next frame is starting to get a little bit lower and start to push into out.
Yeah, so
he could hit a lot of iron shots to the right.
Yeah,
as a result of that.
Just gets a little trap behind his hand line here at this point, and then it swings out to the right a little bit, which, you know, as a lot of people are sort of talking about these days, people like to sort of see more of a left path potentially with the club. But as you said, with that leg action and just starting back a bit, it just gets trapped behind him with his hands a little bit through here. So his miss is generally what?
With his irons, he tends to leave them a little bit right. And then with the driver, it can maybe go both ways just a little bit. Because the ball teed up, his path tends to get a little bit more into out, which is fine. He likes that. But we tidied up his footwork and his leg work, just more his posture at address. We tried to get him to feel more flexed at address in his knees.
Yep. I'm going to have a look at this. Is at I can just edit
this. Is at the Colonial.
So this is Colonial. So this
he played really well. He played last group on the weekend in both rounds there.
It's amazing. So how long is this after the one on the left?
Well, it's interesting because the one on the left at Riviera, there was only like another three or four tournaments after that, and then we went into lockdown. So the Colonial is actually first tournament back, which was in May, towards the end of May, I believe. So we'd done a lot of, I used to go and see him probably every week, and he'd come down and we'd play golf, and we'd do a fair bit of work. So you can really see the difference here in how, you may not notice it. You're going to notice it more out of the upper arms and the shaft and the body rather than the legs here. But we actually changed that from out of his leg work and his posture. That club head is now, as you can see, a little bit higher.
Yeah.
So the path, as he rotates, will try and work a bit more left rather than into out.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, I think, without ever sort of knowing 100% what all teachers teach, but you do love this move where you love to see the left arm off the body a little bit more on the way down and not something that's too inward this way. Is that correct?
I like that, just because I think then it's going to insist, as you rotate your arms and keep releasing the club, if you've got a little bit of room between your left arm, you can see how his body's trying to rotate out of the release, and the club didn't veer off to the right as much.
Yeah. This is more inward here, and this is more out to the right.
Yeah, a little bit more in line. So his release is getting a little bit further left here. You probably see that in that. That's a beautiful neutral club face there.
Yeah.
And the one on the left, it's a bit blurry, but I'm going to guarantee that was just a hair shut, the club face on the one on the left at that same exit spot.
Yeah. No, it's definitely a lot more in front of him on the way down. So
better posture in the legs, but it also affected his upper body. You can see less kink in the right side there on the way through. He's basically getting taller.
Yeah.
And I think the right foot's probably going to drag still if you keep going.
Yeah. That's great. Whole right side. I mean, it's actually off the ground there, isn't it? Like
there it goes.
Comes off. But I love that. He's getting this right hip moving up and around, isn't he? Right shoulder moving up and around, which is actually something I see, from Bryson a lot, isn't it? Like Bryson's got so much of that now where, it doesn't stay back. It's going up and around as hard as he can sort of on the way through, which
very much.
It's not dissimilar to what Harold's got going on there. So what
That's
would you
why
say?
I like getting that left shoulder away from the ball. If your left shoulder's just going up in the air, it's not getting away from the ball. It's just going up in the air.
Yeah, so having shoulders that work more like that, you say, rather than like
Correct. Yeah, more level
vertical
shoulders on
that
the
way.
way through rather than steep. Yeah.
Yeah. So do you think that? So just getting really quickly, I'd just love to. We talk about club face whenever we have a chat. How do you sort of look at the, like some people would call that maybe a little bit shut, and then, but you were saying that you like it with him, and you're working with that rather than say with Brendon Todd, for example, that you said, look, we've got to get this face way open.
Correct. Yeah. So Brendan was told to shut it on the way back and on the way down. So Harold just sort of does it on the backswing. If you progress pretty slowly there, you'll sort of see how he'll open it up again coming down.
Mm.
It's not as pronounced there, and that's just his feel. And I think it matches pretty well with what we talked about, how he stays back behind the ball for a long time, that he doesn't have to just push his hands forward to try and get that club face open. He's so far behind, he can release the heck out of it and square it up there at impact.
Which is something that you and I were talking about beforehand, which is, is this whole releasing in a different sense, isn't it? It's not, where people talk about rotating as hard as you can, but you really like people being able to release their arms and their hands, which is probably something that's sort of gone out of the game, isn't it?
Well, I think, if you're hanging onto the club and you want to release it, you got to use your hands and arms to do it. Your body's there sort of joining the party. You can see his body is not stopping there at all, but
No.
he's trying to release his arms as hard as he can then, and then let his body take over and keep rotating beyond the ball. So I don't necessarily care how open someone is at impact. I think the idea is to keep opening beyond impact, which you can see there. There's no stall in his hips or shoulders or anything in that.
Yeah. No, well, I mean, proof's in the pudding. He's playing the best golf he's ever played. So you're obviously doing great things. So what does the next couple of weeks look like for you? Like, for the first time as a tour coach going to the Masters, I think is right.
Yeah, it's been interesting. Since they started playing again, I have not been to any tournament. I just went to Greensboro 2 weeks ago. That was my first event back. Had to do the swab up the nose and all that stuff to be allowed in. So I just sort of saw the players on their weeks off and things like that. But felt it was time to go to a tournament, seeing it was the last one before the playoffs, and started up there. And I'm going to the Tour Championship with Brendon next week. He's already qualified for that based on his stellar year. He can't miss the top 30. And then I think the new season starts almost immediately in Napa Valley, and then I'll be at the US Open with Brendon and Brandt, and a month later or so, or 5, 6 weeks later, I'll be at Augusta. And both of those are going to be really interesting because I'm allowed to go and watch and no one else is. So I'm going to have a pretty good view of the place, pretty good seat in the house there.
I mean, maybe never like that ever again. That's going to be absolutely incredible. And then to also see what Augusta's going to be like after a long, hot summer down there, it'll be really interesting. I'm really fascinated to see how the course is going to play, if it's going to be harder and faster and bouncier, or are they going to put heaps of water on it? It's going to be really interesting.
I think it'll be beautiful with some of the leaves changing and everything. It'll be, obviously a different beauty without all the azaleas and everything, but it'll look really cool. And the weather's generally a little bit cooler that time of year. So it can, you could get hard, fast conditions, or probably won't rain that much, but, Augusta, they can do whatever they want to the course.
That's exactly right. Yeah. The weather's irrelevant, really, isn't it? So. Okay, Brad, thanks so much for your time. This has been really, really cool. It's just great to see what you're doing over there. It's, I've known you for years, and it's just a culmination of, decades of playing the game at the elite level and studying the motion, and then to watch, everything happen over the past sort of 18 months for you has just been absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, it's been a blast. It's been fun. Didn't think it would go this way, but you always hope it does, and you always try hard to work on things, and I've just been lucky. I've had good players that have worked on it, and it's performed.
Fantastic. Well, let's check back in maybe after the majors are over, and we'll see how the boys have gone.
Hopefully got a good story to tell.
That'd be great. All right, mate.
Thanks, mate.